Mr. Bartel.
Yes, ma'am.
Courtroom 2. I have Mr. Harris at the phone, ready to be interviewed.
Mr. Who?
Harris.
Harris. Okay. Is that the trespass? I think that was part of a case that went to Superior Court. Are they going to hear the trespass today?
Now we don't heard the case I did, and they give me no bond and that kind of move.
Well, did they hear the trespass case, Mr. Harris, or just shoplifting?
Shoplifting.
Okay, well, I guess we'll hear the trespass case. So I can call, what's the phone number there?
404-612-2392. 2392.
2392. Okay, I'll call in just a sec.
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to begin with our expedited accusation calendar. This is with the State Court of Fulton County, in which individuals, this is a misdemeanor calendar in which individuals were recently charged, arrested, and formally accused with one or more misdemeanor offenses. When I call your name, I will be giving you information about what's your case number, what are the charges brought against you, who's going to be representing you if you cannot afford an attorney, and what is going to be your bond if one has not been previously set. If you are a defendant charged with such a misdemeanor offense or offenses, please remember that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, especially during the course of this virtual proceeding, which is recorded and live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and we will appoint counsel from either the Public Defender's Office or from our conflict defense list to represent you. So we have courtroom 2 available at present time. Ms. Bridgewater, good afternoon. Thank you for covering this calendar on a Saturday. May I have a
Good afternoon, Judge. Yes, the reset date is going to be July the 27th.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, courtroom 2, who do we have, please? I'm sorry, unmute, please.
This is position 9, Ms. Lovelace.
All right, thank you. Get to.
Your Honor,
Yes,
good
Mr.
morning,
Bartel.
Judge.
Good afternoon, Mr. Bartel.
That is my case, Your Honor, but I'm interviewing Mr. Harris now over the phone.
Okay,
Should be done in a few minutes.
all right, which cases do you have?
I have
First 12, Your Honor.
First 12, okay. Courtroom 2, may we have cases, any cases from position 13 onwards until Mr. Bartel's available, or any cases with Ms. McLeod? I don't see any private counsel on the screen, so.
Okay, let's start, position Robert James. Position 13, Robert James.
That'll be my case, Judge.
All right, thank you, Ms. Helen. All right, Mr. James, Mr. Roberts, if that's you talking, I'd like to remind you that you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. We have a case against you. It's a new case for case number 23 CR 4418G, charging you with simple battery, domestic violence, and disorderly conduct from July 14th of this year. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. Mr. Howard, I Yes.
31 total. Last was 2010, possession of marijuana.
All right,
All the violence is at least 17 years old and beyond.
all right, thank you. Miss Tucker, good afternoon.
Good morning, Judge. Yes, I'll be handling positions 11 through 19 and the add-on.
Okay,
And in this case, the state would be recommending a total bond of $75,000 good bond with conditions no further contact with the victim, Terry Walker, to stay away from the incident location, which is 1844 Honeysuckle Lane, Atlanta, to have no drugs or alcohol while on bond, and to have no weapons. That breakdown would be 5,000 good on the simple battery family violence and 2,500 good on the disorderly conduct. The facts of this case allege that the defendant came home where he lives with his brother, completely intoxicated, got very violent. The brother asked him just to be a little quieter watching the television because he had, to get ready for work. And this just sent the defendant into, a rage. He pushed him, he swung at him. It was actually their mother that witnessed this and called 911 because she was afraid as well. The officer came on the scene and spoke to all the parties. And while he was speaking to the defendant said, "I'm going to kill my brother when I get out of jail. Let me get your gun to do it with." This is charged as disorderly conduct at the current time. It's not sure just from the narrative if those threats were made directly to the victim, Mr. Walker, but we will be watching body cam to see if this is actually a felony case. But based on the severity of these facts, as well as his history, he's got a conviction in 2007 for a battery/simple battery family violence. Back in the 2000s, we used to do that. So I'd have to find it to know if it's battery or simple battery. But that was case 06 SC 50759. He has another battery/simple battery family violence out of 2004, also with Fulton State Court. But I don't have a case number. That was before our CR system, as well as a 2007 simple assault and public drunk case, 07 CR 326032. So it seems that both violence, family violence, and alcohol seem to be, large issues for this defendant. So for those reasons, we are asking for that high bond, that $7,500 total good bond with the conditions as listed.
all right. Thank you, Ms. Tucker. I'm glad you corrected that. It might be my old years, but I distinctly recall you initially saying 75,000. So I'm glad you corrected that to 7,500.
Yeah.
All right, Ms. Helen, now that our eyeballs have all gone back in, what's your position?
Good afternoon, Judge. This is a bond hearing for Mr. Robert. He is 55 years old. He was residing at that location with the brother, Judge, but we do have a separate address for Mr. Roberts to go back if the court is going to issue that stay away. He was working for a gutters or housing improvement company, Judge. He does have a lifetime residency from Georgia, so I don't believe he's going to abscond or miss any court dates. He does have 2 children. He's a proud father of 2 children, Judge. And given the history, Judge, this is not an offender. This is not a current violent offender. 17 years old as far as a history. This is not a violent offender. And if we go back to the Ayala factors, I do not believe he's going to violate his bond. He will not have any other contact with Mr. Walker. He has another location he can go to. 75,000 or 7,500 is effectively a no bond for Mr. Roberts. Okay, Judge. So what we're asking for today, based on his history and the Ayala factors, we're asking for a signature bond. We understand that the court's going to keep him away from his brother. We also have another location, Judge, but we're asking for a signature bond and no more than a $2,000 signature bond, Judge.
And do you have the verifiable address?
1844 Honeysuckle. I'm going to have to verify the zip code.
That's his current address where he resides with Terry Walker.
I apologize, Judge. 2280 Campbellton Road, Atlanta, Georgia, 30311. That is the friend. Yes, the stay away address would be the Honeysuckle, Judge.
Simple battery is going to be set at 3,500. Disorderly conduct's 1,500. Total bond is going to be set at 5,000. Is a signature bond through pretrial services. no further contact with Terry Walker. He's to stay away from 1844 Honeysuckle Lane, the entire complex, not just the apartment in question, which is in Atlanta, Georgia. He's to have no further contact with Mr. Walker, to stay 200 yards away and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. No alcohol, no illegal drugs, and no weapons and firearms. His next court date will be sent to him at the Campbellton Road provided by Defense Counsel. Ms. Helen, if you could just put that address in the chat to Miss Bridgewater, she'll make sure she puts that in the bond order as his current address. That was 2280 Campbellton Road in Atlanta, Georgia. I don't have a zip.
30311, Your Honor.
311. All right, at the present time, I'm going to allow Mr. Roberts a one-time visit to Honeysuckle Lane with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. After that visit, he cannot return to that location. Please make sure that visit does not exceed 1 hour. Thank you.
That's per judge.
Yes, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Judge.
Next case, please.
Position 14, Center, Andrew.
Thank you. And we can resume with the positions 1 through 13. Mr. Bartel is back after I've completed with Mr. Center.
Yes, Your Honor, I'm back. I appreciate the court's patience.
Okay, Andrew Center is accused of simple battery from July 14th of this year. The case number is 23 CR 4416E. And Mr. Center, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Ms. Helen. And Mr. Howard, your
First arrest.
okay, yeah, got it. Ms. Tucker, what is the state's recommendation?
Yes, Judge, the state would be recommending $2,000 good bond with conditions to have no further contact with the victim, Ariana Center. That's AURIONNA Center, and to stay away from this incident location, which is 625 Jet Street in Atlanta. These facts allege that the victim, who is the defendant's sister, was kind of having a little argument with him about smoking behind the building, smoking marijuana. And this got him angry, so he ended up punching her in the face. The officer who arrived on scene did speak with all the parties and the father of both parties, who confirmed that, in his words, he got mad and punched her first. So we do believe he was the primary aggressor in this case. It is simple battery. There were no visible injuries on the victim, but based on the facts alleged, we would ask for that $2,000 good bond with the conditions no further contact and stay away.
All right. Ms. Helen, what's your position? And while we're doing that, I don't know who's Mr. Jordan. Could you look at Mr. Center's booking screen? I'm not certain what are those other issues about that are on his booking screen under booking number ending in 1211.
Some of his charges were NOD, Judge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the 4 charges have all been NOD'd?
I think it was 3 charges. Let me look again.
Okay, all right. While we're waiting, Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge. Mr. Center is 24 years old. He is currently employed, Judge, and if he is granted that signature bond and released within the week, he believes he'll be able to go back to his job, Your Honor. He currently works at a Mexican restaurant, Judge. He's been in Georgia since the last 13 years, since 2010. So I don't believe he's going to abscond and go to another state. I do believe he's going to come to all his court dates. I do not believe he's going to have any contact with his sister, Judge. We have a stay away, or another address that he will reside at. It's a 628 South Side Commercial Boulevard Parkway, Georgia, 30334. If there is a stay away from that location, Judge, and given his history, just going through the Ayala bond factors, I do not believe He is going to be rearrested while out on bond. I do not believe he's going to have any contact with sister. I've spoken to him about those bond conditions. If the judge and the court has a stay away, that's why we also have another address for him to reside, Judge. I don't believe he's going to be going back. Judge, I'm going to ask for a $2,000 signature bond. I understand the state's position, but this is his first arrest, Judge, and I don't believe he has the history to violate his bond or to be rearrested while out on bond. So, Judge, we're going to ask for a $2,000 signature bond.
$2,000 signature bond through pretrial services, no further contact with Ariana Center, of course, to stay away from her location, which was 625 Jet Street, no illegal drugs, so no marijuana, no alcohol, and no weapons, no firearms. I'm assuming that particular address, commercial something, is his current address, so notice will be sent to that location. He has to report to pretrial once a month, and he will attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial. Thank you.
Per judge.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Bartel's case, I think we started with position 9.
Yes, Lovelace,
Yes, Your Honor.
Kiona.
Ready? This is State versus Kiona Lovelace, middle name LaShonda, accused of simple battery domestic violence from July 14th of this year, case number 23 CR 4426D. Ms. Lovelace, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Paul Bartel. Mr. Howard?
20 total, 2019 trespass obstruction, 2016 trespass conviction, 2012 battery DV, disorderly conduct conviction, 08 battery, simple battery conviction. That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Oh, Ms. Stafford. No,
Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry. These little panels keep moving on me, so sorry.
Yeah, I lost myself there for a second.
Okay, it's like Hollywood Squares, but a lot more.
Yes.
Okay, Ms. Stafford, good afternoon. And what's the state's recommendation?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $3,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact with the victim, Sonny Lovelace, and a one-day anger awareness. The facts as alleged, this incident happened yesterday at 29 Moreland Avenue Southeast. Officers have responded to that location for a dispute call, and while speaking to the manager of the store, the defendant and the victim began to fight. After separating and detaining both parties, the officers reviewed the store footage where it showed the defendant entering the store behind the victim and attacking her from behind, striking her several times in the head. The victim is actually the defendant's daughter. Due to the fact that our office has not been able to get in contact with the victim as of yet, and the fact that this happened yesterday, our office is asking for that $3,000 surety bond, just to give them, as well as a no further contact, just to give adequate time to cool off between the two parties.
Okay, Mr. Bartel?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I've spoken with Ms. Lovelace. She does deny that she was the primary aggressor, so she does challenge the allegations against her. She was born in Atlanta. I'm advised that she's lived in Atlanta all of her life. She has relatives in Atlanta. She said she has 2 kids in Atlanta, an uncle, her mother, and her fiance, I'm told, all live in Atlanta. So she does have ties to the community. She is not currently employed, but she is looking for a job. She's worked for a long time in the hotel industry. I'm advised that she's looking for a job in that field. I'm also advised that she and the alleged victim do not live together. I don't see that there would be any problem with a no further contact order. Given all that, Ms. Lovelace is wanting to ask for a signature bond. If the court is not inclined to grant that, we would ask for a $1,500 good bond.
$1,500 surety bond, no further contact with Sonny Lovelace, and to stay away from the business at 2900 Moreland Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you. And the next court date is July 27th.
Is that the SAP date?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
Position 4.
Thank you.
Bills.
This is Quintavious Green, accused of battery from December 3rd, 2022 in case number 23 CR 4422G.
Correction, that's gonna be position 4, Serena.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, I'm
Fields,
sorry.
yeah.
I literally read position 6. I beg your pardon. This is Serena Fields. I do beg your pardon. Serena Fields, case number 23 CR 4421A, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from July 14, 2023. And the co-defendant, I didn't write the position number. Is the co-defendant present? This
The
would be
codefendant is position 15.
15, okay. Should really write the position numbers there. That was the add-ons. And position 15 is Terrell.
That's Mr. Taylor.
Yeah,
Thomas Taylor.
I
Yeah,
have
he'll need a conflict.
Terrell Woods. Is that correct? No, that's 19. I'm so sorry. My pages are all mixed up. I'm so sorry. Oh, you're right. It's Thomas Taylor. Thomas Taylor. I need to restaple these pages. Okay, sorry about that. Thomas Taylor, courtroom 2. Is Thomas Taylor in the courtroom? Can we have him stand behind Miss Fields?
Just a moment.
Right. And Miss McLeod, would you be representing Mr. Taylor?
Your Honor, Mr. Taylor is asleep in the back.
And Your
Asleep?
Honor, I believe Mr. Taylor is my position, I believe. Thomas
And-
Taylor?
Yeah, it looks like he's a co-defendant with Ms. Fields.
Understood, Judge.
If Mr. Taylor wants to sleep through the proceedings, I'll be more than glad to accommodate him.
He's gonna try and wake him up once again.
Mr. Taylor, you awake? Need to stand up and come forward.
She's trying to put him out of the back. She's trying to bring him back, bring him up front.
Good heavens, it's 2:00 in the afternoon. There we go, wide awake. Excellent. And let me ascertain, where is he going? All right. Are you Mr. Thomas Taylor?
Yes.
All right. Are you awake?
Yes.
Excellent. All right, Mr. Thomas Taylor, you have a case 23 CR 44198 in which you're accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property and criminal trespass. And your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen. Is that correct, Ms. Helen?
That is correct. Who is this
All right.
co-defendant?
His
Yeah.
co-defendant is position number 4, Serena Fields.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't believe, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't believe that our agency could represent both. And Your Honor, it appears that, and I apologize for this, Ms. Helen and myself did not catch that this was a conflict because it's 2 co-defendants. Normally what we do is we take the first person by alphabetical order. So I can represent Ms. Fields. I've already interviewed her.
Okay, so in that case, Ms. Helen, unfortunately, your office has to conflict out of representing James Roberts. Ms. McLeod, may I appoint you to represent James Roberts?
I apologize, Judge. Are we talking about James Robert or Mr. Thomas Taylor?
Sorry, I have to restaple the pages here. Sorry, you're right. Mr. Thomas Taylor. Miss McLeod, may I?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. He's the gentleman in the red shirt. He just woke up, so he's fresh and all ready to talk to you. Deputy in courtroom 2, may Mr. Taylor be placed near the phone where Ms. McLeod may call the jail to speak with him?
Yes, he's going to the phone now.
And I apologize, Judge. I did have that case. I looked at the accusation. I just didn't see that they were both co-defendants, but thank you, Judge.
I
for
didn't
doing
either,
that.
Judge.
Thank
That's
you,
all right.
Judge.
Not a problem. Y'all didn't catch that, and my papers are completely messed up. So, we all stumble and fall sometimes. So, Ms. McLeod, do you have the number to the jail?
I do, Your Honor. I was going to ask Miss Helen if she could just email me the information.
I'll chat it. Yep, I'll chat it right now.
Thank you.
Okay, so We've covered some of these areas, so let's go on with Serena Fields, represented by Mr. Paul Bartel. Ms. Fields is accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from July 14th. And Mr. Howard, and with regards to Ms. Fields, I understand that
28
this is
total.
oh yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Just tell me what her probations and FTAs are.
On probation for shoplifting, 21 SC 177742. Open case for shoplifting, hijacking motor vehicle, 23 SC 187014. And she got 4 probation violations in the last 3 years. 2018 terroristic threats, felony obstruction conviction. 2018-19 shoplifting conviction.
That's good. Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, I'll be handling both of these co-defendants. Ms. Fields is currently charged with criminal trespass and damage to property. We have submitted an added accusation for criminal trespass. There was some issue with the magistrate number being linked. So that's why this case currently has 1 charge and the other has 2. In the end, we intend both to have 2. I would ask for a total bond of $2,000 good bond on that criminal trespass and damage to property. The facts of this case are that the 2 were found in an apartment at Fairburn Gordon Apartments at 195 Fairburn Road in Atlanta, where the window was broken and the door frame was broken so that the door didn't lock. They told the officer, oh yeah, we had permission to be here, but we know that not to be true. Why would the window be broken or the lock be broken? So they knew they weren't supposed to be there. And Miss Baker, who is the manager of the property, told the officer she had told them before to not be there. So based on this history, the 27 total cycles, you heard she was on probation when this occurred. We do think there is a risk of reoffending. And for that reason, we're asking for that $2,000 good bond as well as a stay away from this location.
Thank you. Mr. Bartel?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spoken with Ms. Fields. I am advised she was born and raised in Atlanta, so she's been here her whole life. She has extended family in the area. She has 2 children who actually stay with their grandmother. She has a sister. Her mother and her cousins all live in the metro Atlanta area. So she does have ties to the community. I'm advised that she can stay with family members during the pendency of this case. She is wanting to ask for a signature bond. I am advised that, she doesn't believe anybody is able to post bond for her. So, if it's a good bond, then she likely would not be able to make that. But if the court's not inclined to set a signature bond, it appears she would have 2 charges, the trespass and damage to property. Well, I guess 2 counts of trespass, 1 for allegedly a warning and another for property damage.
Yes.
Ms. Tucker, okay, so if she doesn't get a signature bond, we would ask for a $500 good bond on each for $1,000 total.
Well, I can only set a bond right now, whatever charge I have, and that's going to be a $1,000 good bond on the criminal trespass causing damage to property. In the event that the state adds another accusation, Mr. Bartel, I'm going to require you to submit a request for a bond with a proposed order of setting a $1,000 good bond on the additional accusation of trespass under that same case number. And if you can email that to Ms. Holly Bridgewater, that would then complete her booking information so that she has a bond on both charges. Right now, I can only do it on the criminal trespass to stay away 200 yards away from the Fairburn Gordon apartment at 195 Fairburn Road, and to have no further visits to that location. She has to stay away from the entire complex. No drugs, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
I guess my concern, Your Honor, is, can that order be written today, or is this something I'm going to need to follow up on and catch it right at the moment?
Let me put it this way. You can send a proposed order on your own volition directly to Mr. Jordan or to Ms. Bridgewater under the same accusation number. Ms. Tucker, as soon as you file the amended accusation, please let Mr. Bartell know.
It's actually been uploaded now, so it wasn't done by the time that the calendar came out, but it does appear to be linked to this case number now.
All right.
Judge,
The
we did receive 2 accusations. I just checked that case. We did receive 2 accusations, but only 1 charge pulled into the case. So I just added the 2nd charge to the case, but
All right.
we did receive 2 accusations.
All right, I'm going to assume that we are faster than Odyssey right now. And well, let me see, maybe if I click that case again. And voila, there are 2 charges now. Okay, that took care of that. $1,000 surety bond on each count. Stay away from the Fairbairn Gordon Apartments. And next court date is going to be July 27 for the SAP. Thank you.
Okay, so $2,000 total.
Correct.
Thank you, folks, for taking care.
Next case, please. And I see Mr. Thomas is ready. Has he spoken to Ms. McLeod?
He is still on the phone with her. He's still on the phone.
Okay,
So next is gonna be position 1, Hubert Evans.
all right. You said position 1 or the add-on 1?
It's add-on.
Okay. So this is State versus Hubert QB Evans, case number 23 CR 4435C, in which Mr. Evans has been accused of battery, domestic violence, and cruelty in the 3rd degree from a July 13, 2023 incident. Mr. Evans, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and your counsel is going to be Mr. Bartell. I think I had an add-on report, Mr. Howard. No, I didn't.
I thought I had one, so I'm gonna defer to the state.
All right. Ms. Tucker, do you have a GCIC on Mr. Evans?
Yes, Judge, this defendant has 4 total cycles, all of which are violent batteries. The first one being a battery out of Clayton County in November 2019. The second one is a battery family violence conviction out of Clayton from also November 2019, as well as most recently a second battery family violence conviction. It's 21 SC 179356. He did plead to that on January 31st, 2022, and pled to 3 years probation. So he is currently on probation for that case. I have submitted a transfer order for this case. This needs to be prosecuted as a subsequent battery family violence. So I'm not sure if you wanted to hear, we didn't get this case until after, felony first appearance. So I'm not sure if you wanted to hear it and set a bond or defer to felony first appearance.
Has it been accepted by the Superior Court, by the District Attorney's Office?
Yes, based on that prior conviction. And it was in Fulton County, so we have the certified disposition.
So you're submitting a transfer order?
Yes, I sent it to Ms. Bridgewater before the calendar.
Okay. Let's go ahead and address bond then, since I haven't signed the order. Go ahead.
Yes, Judge, we would be asking for a $25,000 cash bond. If you're not inclined for a cash bond, then a $50,000 good bond with conditions: no further contact with the victim, Miss Quanda White. That's Quanda White. He's charged with battery, family violence, and cruelty to children. This incident occurred when he struck Miss White, causing visible injuries, and this occurred in front of their children. Excuse me, this is an add-on, so my pages are a little messy too. But based on his history, he did leave a scratch on the side of her head. He did knock her all the way to the ground, and this occurred in front of a 3-year-old child. I believe Miss White is on. She has spoken with our victim advocate, and it's my understanding she's not interested in prosecuting. She says this is their first incident of family violence, but this is clearly not Mr. Evans' first incident. This is his 4th battery in the past 4 or 5 years and his third battery family violence. He has 2 prior convictions and is currently on probation for a battery family violence. So, you know, I know it's not the easy thing when you're in the relationship, you know, to see these issues. That's why we're here to try to step in, to try to protect this victim, and protect the child from having to grow up seeing this stuff. So we are asking for a $25,000 cash bond. If not cash, then a $50,000 good bond. I would ask that you sign that transfer order, as this is a felony by law. And I believe Ms. White is on if you'd like to hear from her at the appropriate time.
All right, Mr. Bartel, any objection to hearing from the alleged victim?
No, Your Honor, I have spoken with Ms. White previously.
Ms. Kwanda White, if you would like to address the court, you would need to unmute. I don't know if that's you under the Samsung phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. What's your name, please?
My name is Kwanda White.
All right, Ms. White, if you please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I'm sorry, I hear children in the background, but I just need you to understand that this particular case involving Mr. Evans is going to be a felony matter, and it's going to be transferred to the district attorney's office of Fulton County. At the present time, I would recommend that if you have anything to add about the alleged facts of the incident, that may not be helpful for Mr. Evans. But it's really up to you.
May I ask Your Honor why it may not be helpful? Because we don't have a history of violence or any abusive relationship, any of that.
I'll tell you a very simple reason. I have a warrant signed off by a judge in which the police officer has sworn to the alleged events. So if you're telling me it didn't occur or it is the wrong thing, that would be a dispute in the facts, and you would have to address that in court in another preliminary hearing.
Well, I'm just stating that we don't have because he's my fiance. I'm his fiance, rather, and we don't have an abusive relationship. If you look at a history of anything of 911 or anything coming to my address, which I can provide, we don't have that. It was a typical, just a disagreement that we agreed to disagree. And my son just had a concern because we were yelling, and that was it. The child that's involved, he was in the back and he was asleep, and the noise woke him up.
All right, Ms. White.
This man only does is go to work, come home, take a shower, and eat and get some rest. So I'm kind of confused about all of the, I was knocked down, and I was not.
Okay. Thank you.
I was not.
Understood.
So whatever, I don't know about the past because we just met last year, but I don't know about the past. So, and I'm sure the courts are going to handle that. But as far as I'm concerned, and his son, he only shows nothing but up.
Well, that's good. Thank you.
And I hope he can hear me. And actually, can he at least see his son? Can we turn the picture?
No, you are not to show a minor on the screen. Thank you.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would just have a couple questions to clarify.
Go ahead.
With Ms. White. Hi, Ms. White. We talked earlier.
Yes.
Just to confirm, you would not be opposed to a no further violent contact order. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay,
I'm not afraid of him. I'm not afraid of him. He can freely come back here. Everything will be okay.
My understanding is
no issues with him. I've had no issues. But just as any normal couple, you're going to agree to disagree, or you're going to agree and agree, or you're going to disagree and disagree. So I don't have any issues with him.
okay. My understanding is you did not call the police. This was your son that called the police.
It was my son. He was on his way with his girlfriend to come visit me, and he heard the shouting. So he thought that there may have been something going on. And then when the police came, I said, no, please, I don't want to press charges. I don't want to press, I told him as soon as they put, I said, I don't want to press charges. Everything is okay. That's what I told them.
I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Bartel, what's your bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. I have spoken, of course, with Ms. White and Mr. Evans. He does deny that there was any physical aggression. What he told me, which appears to be correct, is that Ms. White's son overheard a verbal disagreement, and he was the one that called the police. He is employed full-time. I'm advised that he works full-time at the Holiday Inn as an engineer. He's got ties to the community. His fiance as well, of course, Ms. White, as well as other extended family, do live in the area. So given all that, we would ask for a $4,000 total bond, $2,500 on the battery, and $1,500 on the second charge.
Bond is set at $7,500 on the battery charge, $2,500 on the cruelty. Total bond is set at $10,000. It is a surety bond. He is unfortunately got a Clayton County hold. So once he makes bond, he can only be released to the hold.
That's $2,500 on the second charge.
Correct. No further violent contact with Quandra White. He may return to the home that he shares with Miss Quandra White. Once he makes bond, he is to, and he resolves his holds in any other jurisdiction, he is to attend and complete a 24-week domestic violence intervention program. Those classes must be commenced or started within 60 days of being released from any jurisdiction, whether it's ours or Clayton County. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and no firearms. Thank you.
All right, next case is position 1.
All right. And I am transferring this case to the Superior Court. So right now, I'm just going to set a date for July 27th, pending the transfer.
Thank you, Judge.
I'm sorry, that was Ms. McLeod's case?
That's number 1, Your Honor.
No.
That'll be my case, Mr. Vardus.
Oh, Vardus. Mr. Vargas, and what position would that be? I know
Number 1.
Number 1, Judge.
Vardus, B-A-R-D-E-S, excuse me.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I heard Vargas. Robin Vardus, B-A-R-D-E-S. Okay.
Yes.
And he's located at 3 South. Okay. And Mr. Vardus is accused of DUI, driving under the influence of drugs, and following too closely from July 14th. 2023. Mr. Vardus' case number is 23 CR 4431J. Mr. Vardus, you have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Any comments you make during the course of this virtual proceeding, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Mr. Paul Bartel.
Oh, that'll be my case, Judge.
All right, sorry. Miss Helen. Your attorney is Miss Catrice Helen. Mr. Toussaint, and yes, go ahead.
4th arrest, last arrest, 1988. That's it.
All right, that was a firearm involved case.
Correct.
Okay. All right, Miss Stafford.
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is for the $5,000 surety bond that's in place for each count to remain the same. No alcohol, drugs, and weapons, and no driving. As far as the facts of this case, Your Honor, this happened yesterday at the Bowen and Woodstock Road intersection in Roswell. Officers responded to a vehicle accident involving 4 vehicles at that intersection. And upon arrival, they made contact with the defendant, and he was determined to be the individual at fault. He appeared to be confused and disoriented, as well as having a hard time standing and staying still. In addition, he appeared to be drowsy and had urinated on himself. When he was asked if he had a medical condition or if he had taken any medication, he informed the officers that he did not, but he later advised that he takes Oxy for back pain. When the fire department arrived on scene, they advised they thought it may have been a medical condition, possibly a seizure, but after evaluating him further, they determined that it was a drug-related accident. Due to the fact that these allegations are very severe and his actions have put many people in the community at harm, including 3 other people that we know of in this particular accident. That is the basis for our recommendation, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge, Mr. Vardus is 67 years old. He has been gainfully employed with a remodeling construction company, Judge. He does have an 11th grade education. He has been in Georgia since 1979. He's originally from New York. He is a proud father of 2 children, one 26-year-old son and one 24-year-old son. Judge, even hearing his history, the last time he was arrested was when I was born. Judge, because of this history and going back to the Ayala factors, I am asking for a signature bond, no more of $1,500, $1,000 for the DUI, $500 for the following. I do hear the allegations of an accident. And so once this gets closer to a hearing, we can flush out a little bit more about what's going on there, Judge. But based on the bond factors and the Ayala factors, we're going to ask for a signature bond.
All right. On the DUI under the influence of drugs, that's going to be $3,500. On the following 2 closely is $1,500. Total bond is $5,000. It's a surety bond. No consumption of any alcohol, no consumption of any illegal drugs, and no driving if he consumes any prescription medication. Also, he's not to drive unless he goes through a qualification with the Department of Driver Services to determine whether he may continue to possess a driver's license and continue to drive. So he would need to go through a qualification through the Department of Driver Services again. Thank you. Next court date is going to be July 27. All right, we are moving on to Mr. Thomas Taylor, which is Ms. McLeod's client. And that was position number 15, I believe. Okay. Mr. Thomas Taylor is case number 23 CR 0044198, accused of criminal trespass and damage to property and 1 count of criminal trespass from July 14th, 2023. Mr. Taylor, just to remind you, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say about the facts of the case, your statements can and will be used against you. Your attorney is going to be Ms. Maureen McLeod.
You got 4 holds.
4 holds? Okay.
Yeah, you got a bench warrant here and 3 other holds in 3 other places.
All right.
You want more? Oh, that's it.
No, that's good. Thank you. Ms. Tucker, do you have any objection to the same bond at $1,000 each count with the stay away from the Fairburn Gordon apartments?
I do not, Judge. That's what I would have asked for.
Ms. McLeod?
Is that going to be a signature bond, Your Honor?
No, he doesn't qualify for a signature bond. Unless you like to persuade me otherwise.
Your Honor, he's currently unemployed. He's 26 years old. He tells me that he lives with his mom at home and that he did not break into the location as the state has alleged. He said he was just there visiting, Your Honor. He's currently looking for a job, but he only has an 11th grade education. So it's a bit difficult for him to find something to do, although he was employed up to 2 months ago.
Does he have a currently good mailing address?
He does, Your Honor.
And where is that?
It's in Hiram, Georgia.
All right.
He tells me he lives there with his mom.
Then he would need to contact her. His bond is $2,000. It is a surety bond to stay away from the Fairburn Gordon apartments and not to return to that location, not to return to the entire complex. His next court date is going to be July 27. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Position 2, Brooks.
This is State versus Garner, Donahue, Brooks, accused of terroristic threats and/or acts from July 13th, 2023. Mr. Brooks, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is going to be Mr. Bartell. And Mr. Howard, if you'd like to recite.
13 total. Last was 2015, driving without a valid license.
All right, I think most of his history is driving related.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is for the bond to be set to $3,000 surety bond. No further contact with the victim, Yolanda Wilkes. Stay away from 765 McDonald in Atlanta, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. The facts of this case, this incident occurred on July 13th. Officers was dispatched to that location for a larceny call. And when they arrived, they spoke to the defendant, who advised he had been staying with his cousin and that it was his cousin's house. Due to the fact that he was about to leave for a short period of time, he left $900 in cash under a bathroom sink. And when he returned, that money was no longer there. He believed that the victim took the money because she was the only person in the home at the time. When she advised us, she did not take the money and went through her belongings to show him he did not have the money. He still was upset and accused her of taking that money and stated to her, "I'm going to blow your brains out." Officers spoke to the defendant's cousin, who stated that he did in fact hear the defendant make that statement. Due to the allegations alleged, Your Honor, that is the reasons why we are asking for that bond.
Bartell?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I have spoken with Mr. Brooks. He is 61 years old. He was born and raised in Atlanta. I'm told that he's been here all of his life. I do not have a GCIC, but it appears that he does not have any type of violent history. He does deny threatening the alleged victim. He did tell me that the alleged victim is the girlfriend of his cousin, that he was having a verbal dispute with the alleged victim, and he maintains that his cousin took her side because that's his girlfriend. And he does have extended family in the area. He has multiple cousins. He has one brother and 3 sisters that are all in the metro Atlanta area. Given all of that, we do want to ask for a signature bond. We do not believe he's a risk to commit any additional or commit any crimes while out on bond. He does not have to stay at this address, so no further contact order would not be an issue. As I said, he has ties to the community. If the court's not inclined to grant a signature bond, we would ask for a $1,500 good bond.
All right. Bond is set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. He's to report to pretrial once a month. He's to have no further contact with Yolanda Wilkes and with Howard Clay. He's to stay 200 yards away from both of them and not communicate with them in any way, form, or manner. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And definitely he's to stay away from 756 McDaniel Street in Atlanta, Georgia. He may return to that location one time only with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. That visit cannot exceed 1 hour. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
That's per judge.
Yes.
Next is position 5, Gilstrap.
State versus Stephen Antonio Gilstrap in case 23 CR 4427A. Mr. Gilstrap is accused of driving with an expired or no license on person and willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer from July 14th, 2023. Mr. Gilstrap, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Bartell. And Mr. Tucson, I don't think he had any.
His 3rd adult arrest. Last arrest was October. Theft by receiving. It's open out of Douglas County. And another 2022 theft by receiving that was dismissed, Sandy Springs.
Thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is $5,000 total good bond, $2,500 for each count. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no driving without a valid license plate. The facts to this case, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday. at 2923 Delmar Lane Northwest, officers conducted a traffic stop on a black Tesla that had displayed what appeared to be a Xerox copy of a tag that was printed in the wrong font. That's how the officers knew. When the officers initiated that traffic stop, the vehicle did stop once the lights and stuff were going off. However, the defendant exited the vehicle and ran. He was then shortly detained later after the officers caught him. Due to the fact that the defendant currently has an open case, our office is asking for that bond, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Bartell?
Yes, Your Honor. I spoke with Mr. Gilstrap. He indicated that this was not his car he was driving. It was one that he borrowed from a family member. He indicates he was not aware that there was not a current registration for it. He is from the Atlanta area. He was born and raised here. He does have extended family. Well, his mother and father, as well as his uncle, who I'm told is who he borrowed the car from. He has one brother and several sisters. They all live in the metro Atlanta area, so he has ties to the community. He is 23 years old. His history appears to be minimal based on what we're told from pretrial. And in terms of the obstruction, he just indicates that he does have some fear of the police just because of a previous interaction. So based on all of that, we would ask the court to consider a signature bond. If not, we would ask for, let's see, it's 2 charges. We would ask for a $500 good bond on each charge if the not inclined to give him a signature bond.
Thank you. On the driving with an expired or no license plate, that's a $500 bond. On the willful obstruction is $1,500. The total bond is a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, proper registration, license plate, and adequate insurance. It is best not to drive someone else's car unless you know that person's car is totally legit. Thank you.
Got to be careful, Mr. Gilstrap. Thank you, Judge.
Next case.
Position 7, Mr. Harris.
Okay. Spade versus Larry Harris, who is accused of criminal trespass from July 13, 2023 in accusation 23 CR 4428E. Mr. Harris, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartell. Mr. Howard?
56 total. He got 3 open shopliftings in Fulton.
All right, that's good. Thank you. Miss Stafford, is it? Or who's our prosecutor? Miss Stafford, yes?
I apologize, Your Honor. What position? I just had some technical
This
problems.
is position 7, Mr. Larry Harris. He's got 3 open shoplifting matters, at least. That's part of the GCIC.
Yeah, yes, Your Honor. So the state's recommendation is $1,500 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and stay away from 3040 Lakewood Avenue. The facts to this case: this incident occurred on July 13th, 2023, at that location, which is a BP gas station. Officers responded to that location for a criminal trespass call. When they arrived, they saw the defendant sitting in the vehicle close by. The defendant had already been given a trespass warning from that location on June 18th, 2023, and he had been advised not to return. Officers then spoke to the employee at that location, who stated that the defendant had entered the business but exited shortly after, at which point he immediately called 911 because he knew he was not supposed to be there, and he was known to be a shoplifter from that location. And he had, in fact, told the defendant he was not to return within the next year, due to the fact that the defendant had several open cases, including criminal trespassing and theft by shoplifting. That is the reason why our office is asking for that bond.
Mr. Bartell?
Yes, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Harris. He too, he's 52 years old. He was born and raised in Atlanta. I'm advised he's been here all of his life. He does have extended family. His parents are deceased, but he has siblings and cousins and aunts and uncles who live in the metro Atlanta area. It looks like there's an associated shoplifting charge with this charge, but it looks like Mr. Harris was transferred to felony. And Mr. Harris, have you had a first appearance on that? It looks like he was on the first appearance calendar for felony. For that.
Really went to court for that. I went to court for that before I came to this courtroom.
Okay, so you said you did not get a bond on that charge, shoplifting?
No.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's true, but if not, that would certainly keep Mr. Harris in. But just regarding the trespass charge that's here before us, Judge, we would just ask for a $500 good bond.
Okay. Bond is set at $500. It is a good bond to stay 500 yards away. That's the length of 5 football fields from the BP gas station at 3040, was it Lakewood Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia? We need to.
Harris, you can't go back to that location. Okay?
I ain't talking about that. I would ride with somebody, they pulled up to get some gas, and I was so happy in the car.
I wouldn't say anything else, sir, but just you can't go near that location, okay?
Mr. Please unmute courtroom 2.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Who is this? Every time I say something, he got something. I'm talking about this, my lawyer. He won't even let me talk. He was doing that on telephone.
Mr. Harris, one more time. If you use a profanity, that $500 bond is going to be $5,000. Now you listen carefully. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say, your statements can be used against you and help the prosecution convict you of this charge. What Mr. Bartell is doing is the smart and correct thing to do. He's trying to tell you to be quiet so that you don't damage his ability to defend you. Do you understand?
Yeah, but I was talking to you.
Well, you can talk to me, but when you talk to me, we have prosecutors on the screen who are listening to what you're saying. So Mr. Bartell, whatever he's saying to you is for your benefit and only for your benefit. So if you want to keep on talking, you keep on talking because your grave is getting deeper.
Okay.
You can talk?
I'm good.
Good boy. Okay, thank you. $500 surety bond, stay away from the BP. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Next is position 8, Jeffrey Jones.
Oh, by the way, Mr. Bartell, on Mr. Harris's case, is going to be a July 27th SAP.
SAP. Okay, thank you, Judge.
I don't see any other open CR cases. There's only the CP case, so that's the only one that's going to SAP.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm. I'm sorry, was this Jeffrey Jones? All right. Jeffrey Javon Jones is accused of simple battery, domestic violence, and cruelty in the 3rd degree from March 7th, 2023. Mr. Jones, you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartell. Mr. Howard?
8th arrest. He was arrested last week in DeKalb County. Interference with custody and kidnapping. That's open. And you got several FTAs out of Florida.
Thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is a $5,000 total surety bond, $3,000 for the simple battery, and $2,000 for the cruelty to children. No alcohol, drugs, or weapon. No further contact with the victim, Tasha McClellan, and stay away from 183 Triumph Drive and anger awareness. The facts as alleged, Your Honor, this incident occurred March 7th, 2023 at the victim's home. The victim advised officers that she had been having an ongoing issue with the defendant, who is her brother, assaulting her. She stated on that particular day, he had came to the residence and her 11-year-old son, initials EM, opened the door for him, and at which time he entered the residence and without being provoked, punched her in the jaw. She advised officers that he was not supposed to know where she lived at that time, but he found out and still came to her residence and hit her, Your Honor. And this, in fact, did happen in front of her son. Due to the fact that the defendant has multiple arrests for FTAs out of Florida, as well as this new open case that just happened, I believe, last week. Your Honor, that is the reason behind our recommendation.
All right. Mr. Bartell?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I've spoken with Mr. Harris. He does deny committing any type of physical assault against the complaining witness. It does kind of raise a question as to why somebody would go to somebody's home and just hit them with no reason or no allegation given at all as to why he would do this. What Mr. Jones tells me is that he has had a verbal altercation, a verbal disagreement in the past with his sister over how she is raising her son. And she was basically making this allegation in retribution because of that. So he denies that he engaged in any sort of physical aggression towards her. I think just looking at the material I have, the warrants, there's no allegation that there's any visible physical injury. It's charged as a simple battery. So I think the cruelty to children charge is inapplicable. That only applies if it's a battery or a forcible felony. So again, he does deny the allegations. I'm told that he is employed full-time as a truck driver. So he does need to get out of jail and get back to his job. He has extended family in the metro Atlanta area. He has several siblings, one daughter and a niece. So he does have ties to the community. I'm told that he's lived in Georgia for over 4 years. So given all that, we would ask for a signature bond on both charges. If the court's not inclined to do that, we would at least like to ask for a signature bond on the cruelty to children charge, since it's not applicable, and a $1,500 bond on the simple battery charge.
All right. Ms. Stafford, is the Solicitor General's office planning to NOD the cruelty, or y'all still want to proceed with it and rethink the battery charge, the simple battery charge?
As of right now, Your Honor, I believe we're gonna still move forward with the cruelty and look more into it. I stand corrected, Your Honor. We're gonna non-process the cruelty, Your Honor.
All right. On the count two, the state will submit a null pros order. And please forward that to Miss Holly Bridgewater. The simple battery is going to be a 3,500 surety bond. No further contact with Tasha McClellan to stay away from 183 Triumph Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you. Oh, and stay with no contact with Tasha McClellan and all her immediate family members, which would be any minor children she has. Thank you.
Position 10, Lupac.
This is Seth, middle initial A, Lupac, case number 23 CR 4433Y. Mr. Lupac has got 2 misdemeanor charges. Excuse me, 4. This was the one that spelled over the other page. Okay. And the 4 charges stem from a July 14th, 2023 arrest in which he's been accused of obstructing highways, streets, or sidewalks, or other public passages, possession and use of a drug-related object, driving while license suspended or revoked, and failure to keep drugs in its original container as a misdemeanor charge. Mr. Lupac, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartel. Mr. Howard, any priors?
Oh, real quick, what was Jones's bond? The total bond amount?
It's 3,500 on the simple battery, and the cruelty charge is null prost.
Thank you. Lupac?
Yes.
9 total. Last was 2016, driving while impaired conviction. 2015, possession of LSD conviction. Most of his history is drugs out of North Carolina.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Stafford?
Yes, Your Honor. The state's recommendation is $8,000 total surety bond. So that's $2,000 per count, Your Honor. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. No driving without a valid license. And the facts as alleged, Your Honor, this incident occurred yesterday. Officers observed a vehicle in the distance, which was kind of slanted across both sides of the street. As they approached the vehicle, they observed that the vehicle was running with the defendant inside. They turned on their emergency lights, at which point he began to back up into a parking lot. As they approached, he appeared to be agitated. And while trying to explain to the defendant that he was obstructing the roadway, the defendant then began to yell at the officers and stated that he was attempting to clean a spill inside of the car. Officers asked for his ID, which he stated he did not have, but continued to rummage through the car. So the officers asked him to step out of the car. While talking to the defendant, they noticed a small baggie, while doing a search around that vehicle, Your Honor, they noticed a small baggie with white powdery substances inside, and it was inside the center console area. He was asked what the substance was, at which point he stated it was marijuana. He did provide his name and birthday and gave that information and stated that he was from North Carolina. When they ran him out of North Carolina, they found that his license had been suspended. Therefore, he was detained, and upon a frisk, the officers located a pipe in his front pants pocket. And inside the vehicle, they found a small blender with white powdery substance inside the front passenger side of the vehicle. The defendant then stated that that substance was prescription medication. Due to the fact that the defendant has multiple arrests for drugs and arrests in multiple states in Ohio and North Carolina as well, our office is currently asking for that $8,000 total surety bond, Your Honor.
Mr. Bartell?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I did speak with Mr. Lupac about his case. He did advise me that he was leaving work at this time. He is employed full-time. He works as an event planner for premier events. He indicated that he had a soft drink that he had spilled, and he was trying to clean that up when the police came upon him. He encountered the police. I am advised that the white substance found is a drug called Subutex, Subutex. And I'm advised that he does have a prescription for that. My understanding is that that's a medication that's given to people who are in recovery to prevent cravings. And I've advised him that if he does in fact have a prescription, then that's an affirmative defense, and someone can't be convicted of a medication not in original container if they're the ones that are prescribed. But again, he is employed full-time. I don't have his whole GCIC here, but it appears that he does not have any violent history, so he would not be a threat to the community. Based on all that, we would ask for a $2,000 total bond, Judge, $500 on each charge.
Okay. On the obstruction, it's going to be a $500 surety. Possession of a drug-related object is a $500 signature bond through the jail. Driving while license suspended or revoked is going to be a $2,000 surety. And failure to keep drugs in its original container is a $500 signature bond through the jail. Total bond will be a
split bond, Judge. A split bond, Judge.
Split bond, yes, sir. It's going to be a $3,500 split bond in which he will be. Am I correct? Yeah, in which he will, the good bond portion is $2,500. And conditions are no driving without a valid driver's license, proper registration, and adequate insurance, and no driving while in consumption of any prescription drug or any, no illegal drugs anyways, but definitely no alcohol and no weapons. Next court date is July 27th.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 12, Elijah Parker.
Mr. Parker has got a charge of battery stemming from a June 25th, 2023 incident, case number 23 CR 4397A. Mr. Parker, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Miss Miss McLeod.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Howell?
I got first arrest.
All right. And Miss Tucker?
Yes, Judge, the state would be asking for a $2,500 good bond with conditions no further contact with the victim Milas, Milas Ringer, as well as to stay away from the incident location at 1453 Rain Tree Crossing in Roswell. Despite the fact he has no history, the facts of this case allege that there was a dispute among three individuals, the defendant, the victim, and then a female. It was said that the victim and a female were kind of in an argument, of course, over what was on a cell phone and going through the cell phone. When the defendant came in his words, to step in to protect her, but through the officer's investigation of the case, they determined there was no real reason for this defendant to come in and be the predominant aggressor towards the victim, who did have visible injuries. He had a scratch on his forehead, a scratch under his eye, and a scratch on his arm. So he had multiple injuries, visible injuries from this incident. And in the warrant, the officer swore that, through evaluating all the circumstances, they found this defendant to be the primary aggressor against this victim. So for those reasons, we'd be asking for a $2,500 good bond, to have no further contact, and to stay away.
All right, thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good
My
afternoon.
client is 23 years old.
Mhm.
His pre-trial has stated he's never been arrested. That's because he stays out of trouble. My client tells me that the alleged victim was someone who was in a relationship with his sister. He was at home where he lives with his sister and his mom when he heard his sister screaming, and he heard sounds like she was being attacked. So he ran out and saw Mr. Ringer, who is his sister's now ex-boyfriend, attacking her. So he was just intervening to protect his sister, Your Honor. That is all that happened. He tells me that Mr. Ringer no longer lives there. He moved out after this incident, and he's no longer in a relationship with my client's sister. I would ask Your Honor to give my client his signature bond, given the fact that he has no history, and also under the circumstances of what happened. I think anyone hearing their sister being attacked has a natural reaction of wanting to help her, Your Honor, and this is all that happened. He saw that his sister was being attacked, and he tried to stop this man from hurting his sister. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Bond is set at $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. He is to have no further contact with Milas Ringer. He can return to the location, I guess it was at Raintree Crossing, as
Yes,
long as Mr. Ringer does not reside at the property. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. He will attend and complete one anger awareness class with pretrial services. Mr. Parker, although you got a signature bond, this is an active pending case against you. Please keep in mind that you will be reporting to pretrial once a month. And if you get arrested again for anything else, this signature bond will be revoked and you will have to pay for your bond the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Position 16, Noah Wilcox.
And Your Honor, I actually have received an offer while we're in the Zoom conference for Mr. Wilcox. If I can have an opportunity just at that courtroom 2 phone to speak to him about it, I do believe he'd accept it.
All right. And if you want to call the jail to speak with him, meantime,
Right now. Yes, Judge.
I am going to move on to the next case. Any other cases in there involving Ms. McLeod or Mr. Bartell?
We have position 17, Mr. Williams.
Your Honor, I don't have any more cases.
Yep, the rest are mine, Judge, and I believe this conversation with Mr. Wilcox will be just a minute or two.
I have another case on the calendar, Your Honor, which has not come up.
Which one is it, Ms. McLeod?
Mr. Green.
Mr. Green.
Green.
Mr. Green, I think he's on the floor.
I waived appearance for him, Your Honor.
All right, in that case, while we are waiting on Ms. Helen's next case, this is Quintavious, we are addressing position 6 on the calendar, Quintavious Green. And Ms. McLeod, please go ahead and submit a written waiver of appearance to.
I have it. I have it, Judge.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Number 23 CR 4422G. Mr. Green's accused of battery from December 3rd, 2022. And Mr. Green appearance has been waived by his counsel. So Mr. Howard, what's his priors?
25 total. Last arrest was 2022. Probation. He got to open simple battery in state court, 21 CR 003 713G.
All
On
right.
probation for simple battery, criminal damage to property, felony obstruction out of Cobb County. He been in custody since March of this year.
And Judge, we're ready whenever the court's ready.
All right, let me finish with Ms. Cloud's case. All right, Ms. Stafford, what's the bond recommendation for Mr. Green?
Yes, Your Honor, the state's bond recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact with the victim, Natasha King, and anger awareness. The facts as alleged, Your Honor, this incident occurred December 3rd, 2022 at 1811 Langston Ave Southwest. Officers responded to a fight in progress at that location. And upon arrival, they spoke to the victim, Ms. Natasha King, who stated that she had asked the defendant for a ride. And while in the vehicle, she felt unsafe and asked him to stop the vehicle. Once she got out of the car, he followed her to the intersection of Langston and Birch, and they began to argue, at which point the defendant grabbed her by the neck, also grabbing her hair and drug her across the ground, punching her several times. Officers did observe several visible marks on her neck, as well as stains on her clothing from the dirt. Our office was able to get in touch with the victim. She stated that she would try to appear on Zoom, so at an appropriate time, we asked that you sound for her. She stated that they no longer reside together, but she does not want to have any contact with the defendant. She also stated that they did have a violent history, but she had never called the police prior to this incident. She stated that, in her opinion, that she does not need a stay away at this moment because he does not know her address and she does not want him to know. So for these reasons, Your Honor, we ask for this $5,000 surety bond.
All right, Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor, my client is 35 years old. As pre-trial stated, he's been locked up since March, Your Honor. So he really is in no position to post a bond at this time. This incident happened about 8 months ago. He tells me that after this alleged incident, he has not seen the alleged victim. They have not been in contact at all because I believe she was an ex, Your Honor. I understand that my client does have some history, but I would ask the court to take into consideration the fact that he's been locked up all this time. So of course he's not working. He doesn't have any resources. He is quite okay with the no further contact with the alleged victim. And of course, this is the allegations in the warrant is that this incident happened at a random location. So there's no need for stay away or anything. So I would definitely ask the court to take these facts into consideration in setting his bond. Nothing further, Your Honor.
The incident date was December 3rd, 2022, according to the warrant. The warrant was thrown out before the magistrate on April 4th, 2023. And yet Mr. Green was booked at the Fulton County Jail on March 24th of 2023. This matter is clearly Riverside, so it's going to be a $5,000 signature bond through the jail. Thank you. Who do we have in courtroom 2?
This is position 16, Wilcox.
And yes, Your Honor, I spoke to Mr. Wilcox on the phone. He will be accepting an offer of diversion from the state. If the state could just put that terms on the record for me, Judge.
Yes, Judge. So the diversion offer would include completing a law and decision-making course, also known as Operation 21. And because he's accepting that offer, we will consent to a $500 signature bond on each charge for a $1,000 total signature bond, with no conditions besides, no illegal drugs while out on bond. Just follow the law.
Okay. Mr. Noah Wilcox, your bond is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail. It's going to be $500 signature bond on each count, and that will be through the jail. You will be reporting to the Solicitor General's office in order to sign into the diversion program. Your address, your phone number, and your email addresses are all to be current. So within 30 days of being released, you shall come to the courthouse and update us with all this information in writing. You'll complete the conditions of diversion And once satisfactorily completed, the state will consider a favorable outcome in your case. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Position 17, Williams, Jadis. Jadis.
This is State versus Jadis Williams, charged with hindering a person from making an emergency phone call in simple battery domestic violence from July 14th of this year, case number 23 CR 4420F. Mr. Williams, you're accused of these two charges, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Catrice Helen, who will be representing you in these proceedings. Any priors, Mr. Howell?
Second adult arrest. Last arrest was back in December. Terroristic threats and obstruction.
Is that the 8286F case?
Correct.
All
And I
right.
think it's the same victim.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge, we would be asking for a $2,500 total good bond, $1,500 on the hindering 911 call, and $1,000 good bond on the simple battery family violence, with conditions no further contact with victim Candace Pope, as well as to stay away from that location at 1662 Sylvan Street in Atlanta. The facts in this case allege that the victim was in a verbal dispute with the defendant. The victim is actually this defendant's mother. At some point, she felt afraid. She attempted to call 911, and I believe that was a call advising, of a scene armed with a handgun. When she attempted to make this 911 call, the defendant slapped the phone out of her hand so that she could not call for help. Based on his history as well, you heard just as recent as December of this year, he had a felony case against the same victim. He's out on bond for that, yet still, slapped her and prevented her from calling when she felt, in fear, and she felt she needed help. So for those reasons, we would ask for that $2,500 good bond with conditions no further contact and to stay away.
All right. Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge, this is a bond hearing from Mr. Williams. He's 17 years old. Currently, he does not have a job or a working job, but he does breed dogs on his own. So he does have his own dog breeding entrepreneurship, Judge. He has a 11th grade education. He is a lifetime resident, 17 years, of Fulton County, Judge, and he does not have any children. I do hear the history that it's a repeat, apparently with mom. I tried to reach out to her. I didn't make any contact. I don't know if she's here on Zoom or present in court. Since she's not answering, Judge.
I don't see a Candace Pope. Candace Pope, if you're appearing on a different device.
Not in courtroom.
Understood, Judge. We understand that there's a stay away since this is a location 1662 with mom. We have another address, 2789 Miles Circle. Judge, I'll have to look up the zip code. I've been advised he didn't know the zip code, but that is the physical address, Judge. We are asking for signature bond. I do hear the history, Judge, but what we're going to do today, I'm just going to ask for a signature bond, no more of $1,000 on the family violence, $500 on the hindering call, Judge. If you feel that he's ineligible for that signature bond, I ask for a surety bond in the same amount, Your Honor.
Okay. $1,500 on the hindering person from making an emergency phone call, $1,000 surety on the simple battery. Total bond is $2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Candace Pope to stay away from 1662 Sylvan Street. Next court date is going to be July 27th. And we are going to reset this case as well as the companion case, 22 CR 008-286F. And I'm not certain, but I think there is a bench warrant issued. Oh, no, disregard that. The bench warrant was voided, but we will address both cases at the SAP if he does not make bond.
Understood, Judge.
Thank you.
Position 18, Tamaz Woods.
Tamaz Deshaun Woods, accused of battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from October 3rd, 2022. Mr. Wood's case number is 23 CR 004423B. Mr. Woods, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Helen. Mr. Howard?
13 total. Last was 2021 theft by receiving, possession of cocaine, and possession of drug-related objects. 2019 battery dismissed, several probation violations in his history. 2013 battery NOLO, 2013 battery DV conviction.
All right, so that
Hmm?
I've got an open case for 20 CR 818B.
Yes, Judge.
Okay, let's move on then. Ms. Tucker?
Yes, Judge. You did hear from pretrial that he does have a prior battery family violence conviction out of May 2013. That is out of Clayton County, so we don't have the certified disposition yet. So this isn't going to be a felony transfer just yet, but I do believe by law this case will be a subsequent battery and prosecuted as such. So for that reason, I'm asking, well, that and other reasons, but I'm asking for a $20,000 cash bond. If not a cash bond, then a $40,000 good bond. You heard he also had a 2019 battery family violence case against the same victim that was dismissed for want of prosecution in August of last year. But he does have that prior against the same victim, which was dismissed, and a 2013 battery family violence conviction. His pending case, which I believe you mentioned, is a DUI and fleeing and eluding, and he actually was picked up on a warrant for failing to appear for that case when he came in for this case. So we do believe there's a huge flight risk between the FTA for that case, as well as the charge in that case, fleeing, as well as a risk of reoffending, considering the history of battery and history with this exact victim. The facts in this case allege that they were arguing over, who would get to take the 4-year-old and the 2-year-old child. And when he tried to grab the child, or excuse me, I believe that the victim said he was trying to grab the child. So when she said, no, I'm keeping the children, he punched her in the face, leaving her with visible injuries to the face. The victim, the child, also had a scrape to her forehead. The officer said it wasn't really clear how the child was hurt, but ultimately, this visibly injured both the victim and the child who, was forced to witness this, as well as there is an independent witness. The mother said she saw some of this incident. So based on, the severity, the fact that children were involved, very small children, as well as his history and our intention to eventually upgrade this to felony, we would be asking for that cash bond of $20,000. And if not a cash bond, then a $40,000 good bond total. So $20,000 on each.
Ms. Helen?
Yes, Judge. I also filed an order of dismissal. This case was accused, I believe today. The incident date allegation is January 25th of 2015. So, Judge, I did file an order of dismissal.
Miss Helen, I think I'm sorry, they're both Wood.
Right.
Is this 18 or 19?
This is Terrell Woods, I believe 18.
I'm sorry, I was addressing
19.
Deshaun Woods, position 18.
Oh, I apologize, Judge. I was talking
That's
about
okay.
19.
October 3rd, 2022 is the incident date.
Okay.
We start a companion case 20 CR 818B.
Gotcha, Judge. There's another Wood. I apologize.
Yeah.
Mr. Wood is 28 years old. He does have landscaping as a current job, Judge, for income. So he is gainfully employed. He does have a 9th grade background, Judge, but he is from Baltimore, but he's been in Georgia for over 28 years. So I don't believe he's going to abscond or miss any court dates with this case, Judge. He is a proud father of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 children, a 12-year-old, 11, 7, 4, 3, and 9. He is a primary caregiver of those children as well, Judge. His mother is in Camp Creek. And so, Judge, for this case, we're asking for a signature bond of no more than $1,500, $500 on the cruelty, $1,000 on the battery. We understand that there's going to be a stay away, Judge, from the 210 Oak Drive. We do have a separate address if the court feels to go through with the stay away of 520 Fulton Street, Southwest Atlanta, apartment 1311, 1311.
Okay, thank you. On the battery matter, it's going to be a $5,000 surety bond. The cruelty is going to be $2,500. The total bond is going to be $7,500. It is a surety bond. He presently also has an $8,000 surety bond on an outstanding bench warrant. So both cases are going to be reset for the SAP calendar, which would be the present case as well as the prior DUI case 20 CR 000818B. No contact with Yvette, was it Perkins?
Perkins, yes, Judge.
Okay, stay away from the 210 Oak Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you.
Position 19, Terrell Woods.
All right.
Yes, and I apologize, Judge. This is the case that I submitted that order of dismissal.
No problem. This is Mr. Terrell Woods under accusation number 234424F, accused of battery family violence from January 25th, 2015. Miss Tucker, any particular reason why this case should still remain pending?
Yes, Judge. So I did include the language in the accusation as required, but per OCGA 17-3-2, it states the period with which a prosecution must be commenced under the statute of limitations, which is -3-1, does not include any period in which the accused is not usually and publicly a resident within this state. When we're alleging that that time doesn't count against the statute, of course, we include it in the accusation and we prove it as an element at trial. And I do believe we have, evidence beyond a reasonable doubt that he has not been a resident of this state. Both when he was arrested, he gave an Alabama address. When he got picked up recently, he gave an Alabama address. The incident location, 5010 Old National Highway, is a hotel. That actually is the same location where he was picked up. As far as my understanding, it looked like that is where he was picked up in College Park. So that's a hotel. That's not a residence in Georgia. Additionally, if you look at his criminal history, he only has 2 arrests out of Georgia, one being this one, which occurred at a hotel, as well as a 2013 drug case, but that actually was a GSP, a Georgia State Patrol case. So that occurred out on the streets driving through Georgia, not at a residence in Georgia. He does have 16 convictions, however, out of Alabama, including that he's a convicted felon out of Alabama. So based on all of this evidence, I do believe we could prove this, period that he's out of the state and would not count towards the statute of limitations. So at least at this time, I certainly don't think that this case should be dismissed just based on the date alone. The facts of the case allege that he struck this victim with an iron, causing a hematoma, which is a very bad bruising on her face, as well as lacerations in her lip and beneath her eye. So we would be asking for a $4,000 good bond with conditions no further contact from BAHIYA, Bahia Han, HANN, with no stay away, as I don't believe he's living in Georgia. He might be now, but based on all those facts, we do believe that that period of time has been excluded from the statute of limitations.
All right, thank you. Bond is set at $5,000. It's a signature bond through the jail. No contact with Bahia Han, sorry. And next court date will be sent to his current address. We need a current address.
Mr. Woods, go ahead and read out, if you can, if they can unmute you, your current mailing address in Alabama.
You want to say it out loud?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
949 Pleasant Avenue, Auburn, Alabama, over 30 years.
Repeat.
The mask is covering it, okay?
949 Pleasant Avenue, Auburn, Alabama.
Pleasant Avenue?
Yeah, Auburn, Alabama. Auburn, Alabama.
What was the street name? Can you?
Pleasant.
Pleasant. Okay,
Pleasant.
that's what we have on 949. That's what we have from the Zoom. All right, Mr. Woods, this is an active pending case against you. Make sure your address and contact number and phone number are all current. And if you fail to show up in Fulton County Court when summoned, a bench warrant will be issued for your arrest. And those tend to go nationwide, even in Alabama. Thank you.
Judge, do I still submit this, motion was not, it's a proposed order?
No, it's just denied and it's a $5,000 signature.
I didn't
bond.
know whether you needed to sign off on it or whatever.
No, it's just denied. I can issue an order denying the motion.
Okay.
All right, next case, please.
I believe that may have been my last case, Judge.
All right, I think we have concluded with the calendar. Let me just go over the calendar.
Mr. Carter, who is also supposed to be in Alpharetta, who I called and talked to, I don't know if they're calling in or how they're supposed to have him show up, but that was the last person. I'm just looking over my list here.
Alpharetta Jail has not zoomed in at all.
And also position number 11.
All right, let's see. Position number 11 is
Yes, Mr. Nystrom, I was advised by the jail that he is declining to come out. So I guess that would be a behavior reset to Monday.
all right. So position number 11 will be reset to the C calendar tomorrow. Monday, which is the 17th. And this will not be a Riverside matter. Please make a note of that. And he will be addressed. Of course, Mr. Bartell, if you want to waive his appearance on Monday, please advise the judge at that time, which is not me. Okay, so all right. Position number 1, Vardus, is a $5,000 surety bond reset to July 27. Position 2, Brooks, is a 2,500 signature bond for pretrial for the notice. Position 3, Amari Carter. If that person is at the Alpharetta Jail, they have not zoomed in during the course of this court proceeding. So that's going to be reset to Monday, July 17th, C calendar. I don't know if it will be Riverside by then. I'll let you all figure that out on Monday afternoon. Serena Fields, position 14, is a $2,000 good bond on both charges. Reset July 27. 5 Gilstraps, a $2,000 signature bond through the jail. Green, position 6. Okay, nope, I forgot to write it down. Ms. Bridgewater.
$5,000 SOB through the jail.
Okay.
It's a Riverside.
It's a Riverside. That's why I didn't write it down. Sorry. Okay. Position 7, Larry Harris, is a $500 surety bond. Reset date July 27. Position 8 is a 3,500 surety. Reset July 27. Count 2, a cruelty charge will be null crossed by the state.
And I have not received it.
Oh, they will. Don't worry. You know where to find it. Okay. Position 9.
I'm sending it.
Okay, thank you.
Position number 9, simple battery, is a $1,500 surety, reset July 27. Position 10, Lupac, is a 3,500 split bond, reset July 27. Position 11 is reset to Monday, July 17. Position 12 to 2,500 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 13 is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial for the notice. Position 14 centers, $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. 15 Taylor is a 2,000 surety bond, reset July 27. Position 16 Wilcox, Noah Wilcox, is a $500 signature bond through the jail, reset for diversion.
Got
That's on
1,000.
each charge, Judge, each charge, a total of $1,000.
You are correct. It's a $1,000 signature bond through the jail, reset for diversion. 17 Williams is a 2,500 surety, reset to July 27. 18 Tamaz Woods is a $7,500 surety, pending a possible transfer. Reset dates July 27th, along with his companion case. Position 19, Mr. Terrell Woods, the 5,000 signature bond through the jail. And the motion to dismiss is denied. And the add-on calendar, excuse me, position, add-on calendar, position 1 is a $10,000 surety bond, reset date to July 27, pending the transfer, which I will sign today. All right, anything that needs to be corrected?
No, Judge, thank you.
Your Honor.
Yes, sir. All right.
Judge Law, I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is Donna Carter. I'm Amari's Carter mom. I called the Alpharetta police station this morning and they advised me before I even got this text message that he had this Zoom call scheduled at 2 p.m.
May I have your video on because I have no idea who I'm talking to.
Okay, I'm sorry, ma'am. I on my personal computer and I don't have a my log on. I could try to log onto my work computer really quick.
What would you like to tell me about Mari? Because we can't address it until Monday.
Okay.
Okay, so what I would like to tell you about my son.
I don't want to know about the case. What would you tell me about why he didn't show up today?
He didn't show up today because Alpharetta took him down to Atlanta. I contacted the Alpharetta police station at around 10 o'clock this morning and asked where he was because the officer that picked him up from my home last night said that he was going to Alpharetta and that he would then be taken down to Atlanta and that I would get a phone call. I haven't gotten a phone call from anyone. So
just hang on. And who's representing Amari Carter? Is that you, Mr. Bartell?
Oh, no, Miss Judge Law, that'll be me.
All right, let me see. Hang on. So he's already been booked at the Fulton. No, he's not been booked at the. Hang on.
So his current location still says Alpharetta Jail.
And that's why I talked
He may
to
be
him
in
this
transport and he just hasn't made it here yet.
Well, no disrespect to anyone and Judge Law, but while you were talking about the last case, and I am Miss Helen, to say because you guys were getting to the last case. So I called the Alpharetta jail and the guy who answered the phone, some officer, I did not get his name. He was like, oh, we transported him already down to the city of Atlanta. And I was like, but I was told this morning about this, he would have a Zoom call, did not know that I would even get a message for this Zoom call. So right now, I don't even know where my son is.
His son is en route to the Fulton County Rice Street Jail, where he would have to be booked, processed, fingerprinted, and then then he will be scheduled for his first appearance at 2 o'clock on Monday, July 17th via Zoom. He will be available in courtroom 2, just as you've observed the proceedings today. He will be represented by a defense attorney unless you retain a private counsel for him. Then the private attorney should get the Zoom link by contacting the Fulton County Clerk's office, just like how you got this Zoom link.
Judge Law.
I don't know who this is.
This is Yvette Humphreys. I am Amari's aunt. That's my sister. We're trying to understand why he wasn't given opportunity to be present today.
All right, Miss Humphreys, that's fine. That's fine. This is a procedural question.
No, I'm
listen, please. The best I can tell is that if he was, let me just see one thing. I'm not going to give you all information without looking at the documents. Looks like this incident occurred on July 14th, 2023, on or about between 11:15 p.m. to July 15th at 1:09 a.m., allegedly at 310 Harbor Landing in Rossville, Fulton County, involving an alleged victim by the name of Kai Carter. The warrant was granted and issued by the magistrate judge at 2:54 a.m. this morning. So that means that Mr. Carter was brought to the to the Alpharetta jail. And I've only got one page of the incident report. Looks like he was taken into custody on July 15th, 2023 at 1:09 a.m. on Saturday, which is today. He is then transported, Roswell Police, I'm assuming, yeah, it was the Roswell Police Department, transports the individuals who are arrested, typically either directly to Wright Street Jail in Atlanta, Georgia, or to the Alpharetta Jail that is located at Old Milton Parkway in Alpharetta, Georgia. It appears that this defendant, Amari Carter, was booked at the Alpharetta Jail and is processed at the Alpharetta Jail. Now, if Alpharetta Jail has already got him in transport to the Fulton County Rice Street Jail, which is about, I don't know, give it a bit, about 25 to 30 miles away. Apparently, he missed the window to appear at the 2 o'clock calendar today. We can only process and address cases that are booked and processed in a timely fashion in order to be addressed at the 2 o'clock daily calendar. We have these calendars every day from Monday to Saturday, and then any cases that don't meet our cutoff point then get reset to the next available calendar, which is on July 17th, Monday at 2 p.m. All right, and that is my explanation of why we do not have Mr. Carter available for an appearance today at 2 o'clock. So, and since this is a charge of battery, family violence, the magistrate judge is not authorized to set a bond at the present time. That would have to be handled at the first appearance. And that will be addressed by Judge Morrow at 2 o'clock on Monday, July 17th. All right, Ms. Humphreys?
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Carter?
Yes, Judge, I understand your explanation. I guess I'm just a little perturbed because I was given different information by the Alpharetta Police Department. I do understand everything that you're saying. My concern is him missing time from work. He started a new job.
I'm sorry, Ms. Carter. That is not something within my purview at the present.
Okay, no problem. So will I be notified again?
Mr. Bartel, would you please put your, well, I'm going to give you both an email address, Mr. Jordan, or would it be appropriate to give her your email address to get the Zoom link?
I can send it to her, Judge.
All right, Ms. Carter is going to be in your chat feature on your Zoom. And that's going to be an email. You can email this individual, Mr. Michael Jordan, and he will give you the Zoom link for Monday at 2 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
All right, folks. That concludes our calendar for today, and thank you. Ms. Birchwater, you'll send me the documents?
Yes, ma'am, I will.
Thank
All
you, Judge.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Need to call me.